Hello, my name is Taco Salad 223, and today we are going to do a beginner's guide for Star Citizen. Now, first thing I'm going to ramble into is if you are thinking about getting this game, we'll talk about the starter ships and which one I think you should get. So, first starter ship, the highly recommended previously Aurora MR. This ship is still a great starter to this day. However, I will not be recommending it today. I think that you should now be getting the Mustang Alpha. It has an update this patch that makes it so that it's a really good starter ship. And I will throw that up on screen here in a moment. And then while we're talking about setting up an account, I highly recommend you use someone's referral code. I would say use mine, naturally, but if you got somebody else's use there, it's not a big deal. Now, we're sitting on the home screen right now, and we're going to go ahead and click on Persistent Universe, and as you can see, this is me getting started. There's all kinds of lovely settings in here. I'm just going to click through this real quick and get through it, because I don't care. Then we end up on this screen. It wants us to select a system, and sometimes, historically, that won't work. And if that doesn't work for you, generally, if you go out and verify your game files, that will fix that. Now we have our different possible starting locations, and I'm going to choose Area 18 today. I actually had intended to use New Babbage as my starting point this go round. However, half the elevators are broken. Welcome to Star Citizen. So we're going to go ahead and click Area 18 because I haven't heard that it is broke at this point in time. Once you click that, you have options for best server and EU and all that good stuff. I'm just going to leave it as best and go primary residence and confirm. Alright, you've loaded into Star Citizen for the first time, and this is what you're going to be greeted with. You're going to be laying in a bed, and there's probably going to be a bunch of stuff popping up all over the screen, and it might be severely laggy depending on where you loaded in and what you're running on. But we open up our settings here, go to options and take a look at some graphic settings. First things first, obviously probably try to run your best resolution. Full screen tends to be less difficult. I'm running borderless because my computer can handle it. Lucky for me. And then we got quality. Now here's the thing about the quality setting. It's not changing how much is rendered, it's changing more where it is rendered. And I don't know if that's the right word to describe it, but that's what I'm gonna choose to use, because it being on very high means that it's putting all of the rendering of the game onto my graphics card as much as possible, versus if you put it on low, it's gonna put more load on your CPU. And Star Citizen is one of those games that tends to put a large load on both your CPU and graphics card. And honestly, that part's just kind of nice because your game usually overall runs better because of it. And especially, my first time loading into 17.2, but in the public test server, it was working really well. So I'm hoping that's what we're going to get today, hopefully. You can put the scattered objects and terrain tessellation to whatever you want. I turn off volumetric clouds because some of the spawn zones that you load into, it's horrible. Orison is a great example of this. The clouds are just too much most of the time. Then we can go on to motion blur. I hate motion blur, so I turn that off. I left VSync on for now, and I turned down chromatic aberrations so that it's not fighting me. And I just did all of this before I even started the video, so that's where we're at right now. Going back, we're looking around. This is just moving my mouse, not a big deal. And I got a couple options for getting out of bed. So you can hold F and look around, and eventually you'll see we get a get up option, and you can click on that. Or you can simply hold Y and it will get your character out of bed. Now moving around in this game is nice and easy. You got your normal WASD, you got a spacebar for jump, you got a C for crouch. And there's a lot more going into that, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So if I click I is going to be for inventory. And you can see I got some stuff that's carried over here. You're probably not going to have anything in here. And I just turned on a filter and clicked armor. And you can see I don't have any armor in here, and I just did that so you can see what it's going to look like for you. But this filter button is your friend. So if you got different stuff in here and you're looking around, you can click through and filter what you're seeing, and that helps so much when you're looking for something once you fill up your local inventory in an area. Now your local inventory is going to be different depending on where you're at. So on this one you can see I'm at area 18, and every landing zone basically has its own local inventory that you can put stuff into. Now you can see I can grab individual items off of my armor. I got a med pen right there, I got a pistol there. I can just grab my helmet, and if I hold right click I can pan around. I can also scroll wheel to zoom in and out, take off my helmet and put it inside my inventory, and then if I go to armor I can see my helmet and put it back on. Now let's talk about the Moby Glass. So the Moby Glass is your friend. If you select F1, it's going to open up this menu, and you're going to be using this menu a lot. Now this first screen that it's going to open up is going to be real basic information. You can see that's me. I don't have a crime stat, it would show right here. You can see I have a lot of money. And if this is your first day in Star Citizen, you do not have a lot of money. Currently, the lovely people down there at CIG gave us a stipend of money for playing a whole lot of 317.1, and I played basically the entirety of the time and quite a lot of it. Now they made some kind of error when they did this update, and they gave us way more money than they meant to, so don't pay attention to that. If and when I spend money in this tutorial series that I'm gonna make, I'll keep up with how much I've spent so that you can see that everything I do you can do within your first 25,000. And that's probably going to change in between videos what I have right there. One, because they intend to fix the amount of money they've given to us, and two, because I'm probably going to go spend a bunch of money in between videos before they fix it. Good times. So looking at this screen, we got a bunch of buttons down here, and we got to know what all these guys do. So if I click the first one, which is Comlink, this is just the chat. And there's a bunch of different stuff we can look at on here. Looking at the top, we can see how many people are active on the server, and all of those people are right here. So if I wanted to message someone, I could, or add them to a party, whatever. I can right click on their name and we can see a bunch of different options pop up. We can also see any active channels we're in, and that will include any parties we have joined. Right here in the middle, we got global chat, and we can click in there and type if we wanted to. I'm not going to, but you can. Then we can click the friends tab, and if we have any friends in game, they will show up right here. This will actually show all of our friends, but we can see that a couple of the people I have as friends are on here. And then we can go to the pending tab. Pending tab is mostly useless because that part doesn't really work all the time, but you'll notice kind of this great thing about Star Citizen, where when something bad happens, we tell everyone, welcome to Star Citizen. Then we got Vehicle Loadout Manager. You're not going to use this for a while, more than likely, but you can select a drop down in any ship that you have. You can click on it, and it should, there we go, populate some stuff, and we can click on some different things. Oh, I got a bobblehead. We can see all of our system components here, and all of these are upgradable. We can click on paints. I ain't got no paint, so that ain't there. And you can also go in and change out your vehicle weapon. And eventually I'll do a more in-depth tutorial on how to use this, but that's the basics you got going on there. Then we got knickknacks. Knickknacks is nice. I told you that there is a lot of places where you can store things. All of the local inventories all over the verse. And this place, this little app right here will help you see what you have where. So for example, we got Stanton selected, and then we can click on our corp. Now we can click on Area 18, and it's just showing me everything that I have stored in Area 18. It's a nice little tool if you know you have something somewhere, but you just can't find it, which isn't uncommon. We're always looking for what we're trying to find. We always have something lost. Next thing is Skyline. This is your map, and this is probably the worst part of Star Citizen because it only works about half the time, and you'll see that soon enough. Now, quick down and dirty. I am located over here on Area 18, and you can tell we're on the planet R-Corp, and you know I'm here because it's got that green little dot. Now, when I get in my ship later, I'll be able to select something and set a route to it. However, because I'm not in a ship, you can't do that part. But you can see there's a lot of information here. The best way to interact with this map, for example, if I wanted to zoom in on R-Corp, is double click on it and it'll zoom into it pretty close, and then you can just mouse wheel to get closer and see different stuff. Now if you need to look around the planet, if you hold right mouse button, you can move the planet around, and if you hold left mouse button, you can rotate around. And it's kind of clanky. Then if you double click right mouse button, it's going to zoom you all the way back out. Generally, if you can double click, you always want to double click when interacting with the map. It just bugs out less that way. And I could double click on Lyria, and it gets us nice and close so that we can see all these different places that we can interact with and go to. Next button is going to be MO Trader. This is just where you send people money. I could click begin and send it to a friend, or I could come in here and search up someone that's on the servers. Then we got the contracts manager, and the contracts manager is your friend. This is how we're going to pick up contracts to do missions with. And you can see there's a bunch of different options right now. There's actually a live event going on. That's why there's a priority tab. You won't always have this one. And you can see it's the Nine Tails lockdown event. A bunch of information there. But normally you'll have delivery, which is go to a place, pick up a box, deliver the box. You'll have search, which is usually either go find something in a wreck, or it could be go pick up some sketchy things that might blow up your ship. There's a lot of options there. Then you got investigate, which is usually, you know, some NPC died in a mine and now you got to go confirm that he's dead for an insurance claim. We have the newly revamped service beacons, and service beacons are probably going to be a great way for us to make money. We're going to find that out later on in the series, see how good they are. Currently there's just a medical rescue, and from what I read, these are actually bugged because you won't get paid. Then we have maintenance. From what I've seen, maintenance is always go collect some basically trash somewhere, and then you can do with whatever you want with it once that's done. These probably aren't worth our time. Then we got bounty hunting. Bounty hunting is a great thing to level up in, but it does take time. But towards the end, you can actually make really good money doing it. And it can also be a lot of fun. We have two different things that we can work here. The tracking permit is just going to unlock very low risk targets, and there'll be another video where we go deeper into this. But you would have to pay your little fee and go complete this to unlock these as missions. And then suspect apprehension. If this looks like a player. So when you're looking at a name, NPCs will have spaces and stuff in their names. Players cannot have spaces in their names. So looking at this, I know that this is actually a mission to go kill a player. And generally I avoid those, but That's just because personally I'm not good at PvP. Then we got our mercenaries tab. Okay, mercenary tab. And we got some options there. Claim jumpers, we're going to have to go try those in the tutorial because I've never had any luck with those. Protect site trial combat is going to be a bunker mission. You go to a place, clear out the enemies. It's a good time overall. You got protect site, which I think is roughly the same thing. And call to arms. Call to arms is a mission that you generally always want to accept, because all it is anytime that you kill someone that has a crime stat, you get paid for it. So if you go on that bunker mission to go clear out some enemies, most of those enemy AI have small crime stats, so it's just extra money on top of what you were already doing. It's highly recommended that you always take call to arms. And then we got the research tab. And the research tab is some kind of new mission. It doesn't seem to pay out very good, and it seems to be that there's a lot of flying involved, but we'll have to try those out. Then we got the personal tab. There's a bunch of stuff in personal tab. These are all more gray market missions. You might get a crime stat completing these missions, so generally I don't do these unless I find something that really spikes my interest. Then you got the accepted tab. Once you accept one of the missions over here, you'll be able to see that here, and you can share. There'll be a button to share it with friends, there'll be a button to abandon it, and there'll be a track button. That way it'll actually pop up on your map if you got several missions going on. Then you got history, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's going to show you everything you've done, or accepted anyways, whether you've completed or not. If you failed them, whatever, they'll be here. And then we got beacons. Not quite sure why we have a beacons tab other than for creating our own beacons. If we click on that, we can see we can select different types of beacons, make a beacon ourselves asking for assistance in some way, shape, or form. Then we got the vehicle maintenance services. This will make more sense in the ship when we get to our ship. And we got our journal. Journal's got a whole bunch of not all that useful information, but it can be interesting because, for example, different areas have different rules. So you can come in and read that area's rules once you have been to that area for the first time. It was kind of neat. Last but not least, we got the Delphi app. This app is your friend. Before we talked about doing bounty hunting stuff, right? And I told you after you kind of leveled it up for a while, it would get good. Well, if I click on it, the one thing that they didn't wipe for us during this wipe was our reputation. So you can see, I'm actually working on unlocking ERT bounties right now, which is great. I'm going to have to pick back up on that and get those unlocked, because they make good money. I think it's like 80,000 a mission for the good ones, but they are a little bit difficult, so it's just an example, and you can see there's a bunch of different people that you can actually group up with. That is going to be everything in here. Alright, so that's everything in our mobiGlas. So to close this, the easiest way I've found is just click F1 again, and that's going to bring it down. Now, let's talk about some of the keys while we're standing in this room, right? So holding F is going to always bring up this nice interaction menu, and when we're close to things, we can click on them. So for example, that light switch right there, we can click it and the lights come on. And most everything in Star Citizen we can interact with that way, some way, shape, or form. Now we got a whole bunch of F keys up top. We already know what F1 does, so let's see what the rest of them do. So with your character, pressing F2 is going to pull up your map, and that's always going to work whether you're in a ship, on the ground, whatever. Then we got F4, which is the next one. I know what it does, and that's going to bring up third person. Now third person is more for taking screenshots, and you can tell because you won't ever get any HUD information when you're in third person, minus the chat window, and I'm going to tell you how to get rid of that in a minute. To get back out of third person, click F4 again, and then click F4 again. Now we're back in first person. F11 is going to be straight to the comms menu, which is handy if you need to pop over to that, click it again to close it. And F12 is going to get rid of that pesky chat going on over there. So we're going to click that and get rid of that. We also have T for torch, which is going to turn on your flashlight, but the creators decided T is for torch. Good times. Let's make our way to the spaceport. So, to get out of this room, we're going to have to hold F, we're going to have to click this button right here. Now there is another way to interact with those, and I'll talk about that in just a minute, but we're basically in a really big apartment building. So we're going to wander around until we find our way to the elevator. Oh, there's that lag I told you about. So, to work this elevator, we're going to hold F again, and we're going to left mouse click, call the elevator, and we're going to give it a second. Your first time in Star Citizen, the lag is going to be real bad. It takes the game some time to work out the lag, even in especially in a landing area. Now we got the elevator control panel. So we want the ground floor. We're going to hold F, and we can actually mouse wheel on this and scroll up and down. It does some weird zoomy stuff sometimes, but actually if you middle mouse click, it will set it so that it doesn't do that anymore. We'll go ahead and click ground floor. And now we wait. And what we want to do is we want to make our way to the spaceport so we can pull out our ship for the first time. And the lag isn't great, and if your lag's really bad, I would recommend just lowering your settings where you can. Now here's the thing about Star Citizen. It is heavily reliant on signs. You'll notice when I open up my map, I don't have a local area map to work with. So we got to just read all the signs. Now Area 18 is a nice starting point. I do enjoy it. New Babbage is just prettier, which is why I was going to use that as my starting point, but here we are. Now there's a couple stores over here, and I'm not going to spend any time in them right now, but that's a clothing store, there's a gun store. But there's a sign right there, and we want to follow that sign because we want to get to the plaza. That's going to help us get to the spaceport. So we're going to follow this sign around. And it's a great time to talk about running. If you hold shift, your character will run. But you actually have more control than that. If I scroll my mouse wheel while we're moving around, I can get down to we're going real slow, or I can speed up. It's real nice. Now, we're looking for the spaceport. So we want to read all the signs. That says Zone 2, so that's not where we want to go. Come around this way. There's Empire, there's the hospital. If we looked over there, that's the Trade Development Division. That ain't what we want. We are looking for City Flight Transit, which is what we're looking for. So we're going to follow this stairwell on down. Another fun fact about Star Citizen. The trains move in real time. So there's literally a sign. There's literally a train, English is hard, sorry, that is running circles from the starport to here. And we got that timer going on right there, telling us when it's going to show up. And train rides are not so great. So we're going to walk up inside this train once it arrives. And now we gotta wait, and I'm probably gonna cut this part out so that this video isn't 2 hours long. We'll come back when the train arrives. And we have arrived at the spaceport. And you can see we got not a lot of time to get off this train, so we're gonna go ahead and get off. And if we look around, we keep looking at signs around the lag, of course. Ooh, That's cool. There's some pickles floating right there. Oh, that's a leaf. That's the coolest leaf you ever seen. Alright, following the signs, we got Riker Memorial Spaceport. So we're gonna follow on through customs area. Most of the major landing zones are gonna have some customs you have to run through. And I am moving around kind of slow right now. It seems to be helping the lag out a little bit. And you're gonna arrive to an area that looks somewhat like this. This is what Area 18s look like. They're all a little bit different, but generally there's some kind of seating of some sort or a store. A lot of times there's a rental shop, which we could go rent some ships if we wanted to, but that's for a later time. And you're always going to come up to one of these screens right here to pull out a ship. Now when you hold F and click start, it's going to lock you into that screen so that you can pull out your ship. Now depending on what ship you decided to buy is what ship you're going to have to pull out. Now I have some ships that I've purchased and some ships that I have because I decided to be a subscriber to this game, and if you're interested in that, definitely look into it. It has its perks, but not everybody wants to do that, and it don't matter. Now I know I recommended the Mustang Alpha, but for the purposes of this tutorial I'm actually going to pull out the Aurora MR because it has one function that the Mustang does not, or two functions actually, and we're going to talk about that while we're going up to the space station. So to pull out my ship, I'm just going to click retrieve, and it's going to work on pulling it out for me.
Your vehicle has been delivered to the following location.
Once that pops up, it's going to tell you what hangar to go to, and then we can just click this exit button. It'll let us out of this screen, and then we need to go find ourselves the elevators. There's a lot of elevators in Star Citizen, and sometimes they break. It's one of the exciting things. So we can see that that sign right there says hangars. There's also a nice little food shop right here. You can hold F and buy things if you'd like, because there is a hunger and food system in this game. And I'll show you all that in a little bit. Also got drinks and everything. And this NPC will probably talk to us if we stood here long enough, but I'm not interested in that at the moment.
Hello.
So we got another elevator. We're going to hold F. We're going to call elevator. It opened up, and just like before, we're going to hold F, and we're going to click on Hangar 1, and it should take us straight there. Really nice Aurora on the sign. And now we're in our hangar. So this is the glorious Aurora MR. It's actually not glorious. There's a few things they could have done better with this ship. But it's a really decent starter ship. It's got two front guns going on right here. It has an airlock inside, so you can get inside of it and change clothes or whatever else you need to do. And to get in our ship, we're going to hold F. And actually, before we say that, alright, you notice how it says hatch? Every ship, unless you turn off this feature, is going to tell you where the entrances are on the ship, and that is such a helpful feature for us, because some of these ships, especially when you get a new ship, you're not going to have any clue how to get into it, and that helps us find that. So to get in, we're going to hold F. You can see we got a couple different options. Easiest is going to just be enter ship. Now that being said, instead of holding F all the time, certain things you can walk up to and just tap F. You'll see tapping F just picked the top option, and that went ahead and walked us up inside of our ship. And this is the inside of the Aurora. You can fit some cargo boxes in here, which is why it was the stronger recommended ship as a starter for the longest time. It was because out of the two $45 starter packages, this was the only one you could put boxes in. This is also, out of the two, the only one with a bed. But personally, I don't use the bed very often. You can see you can lie down in it, and you can actually log out in space or on a planet in your bed, and it will save your location versus having to spawn back at a spaceport. I personally just don't use that function very often, so I would still lean towards the Mustang Alpha. But the Mustang Alpha now has a big old cargo box on the back of it that you can open up and put cargo into, or some cargo boxes from a delivery mission. So it actually makes out for a really good starter. It's also a little bit better at combat, so generally I would recommend that ship at this point. So to get in our seat so that we can actually fly this thing, we need to hold F again, or, and you'll notice we're not quite close enough so it's green. We get a little bit closer, we got enter pilot seat, or I can let it go and just tap F and it'll put me in the seat. And this is what we're going to get when we get in a ship that we've just pulled out and we've never flown before. So, first and foremost, we're going to ready up this ship. And the easiest way to do that is press R. Pressing R is going to just turn everything on our ship and get us ready to fly in the fastest way possible. Now, in here, just like everywhere else, I can hold F and there's buttons that I can push. I can click on all these little multifunction displays, which is what these screens are called, and change all kinds of different stuff there. There's also buttons I can click on. So for example, I could have turned the engines on manually. I can open all the doors on the ship, which can be really handy if you're trying to pick up a buddy. And we can just keep mousing around and looking around. Over here we got power off. Power on should be there somewhere. And sometimes there's stuff straight down or in your wrist. It just depends on the ship. So what I do when I get a new ship is I hold F and I look around the cabin to see what I can do. Because for example, I could exit my ship by clicking that. Holding Y is also going to take you out of your seat, just like it did taking us out of our bed earlier. So let's go through some of the hotkeys for this. So looking at our keyboard, I already told you holding Y will take us out of our seat. If you press U, pressing U is going to entirely power off your ship. Now I'm going to bring that back up with R. Now we're all powered up again. And if we look, right here is our fuel indicators. And the fun thing about our fuel indicators, if our engines are not on, they change color. And the next button we're going to click is I. And I is going to turn our engines off. So you can see our fuel indicators turned red and we got a vocal cue telling us that the engine's turned off. And we can tap I again to turn those back on. Then we have O, which is going to turn off our shields. And we can actually see our shields on this little MFD down here. So if I click O right now,
Shields off.
Our shields are off. Again, we got an audio cue. And we can click it again to bring them back up.
Shields off.
The next button we're going to look at is P, and P is going to shut off our weapons. We can see our weapons right here. So if I click P, you can see the weapons are now off.
Weapons system is on.
Next button we're going to look at is going to be L, and L is going to toggle our lights on and off. So you got T for torch and L for lights in a ship. It's nice and confusing for you. But you can see them lights are nice and bright. They work pretty good. Now looking over here, we can see that we have some decoys, and we also have some noise. The button for decoys we're going to talk about when we start flying in a little bit, but that's what is on the HUD right there. Then we have our altitude. Great thing to know, the altimeter is broken in half of the star system. It's fun, but when it's working it can let you know when you're getting close to the ground because we can't always see it. Then we have our little G-force meter, and it's just going to tell you how many G's you're pulling. It's not realistically all that useful, but it can be nice when you're trying to see when you're going to black out. Then over here, this is going to be our velocity meter, and there's a couple different things we want to know about this. One, it's going to, from the blue point here and down, that is going to be our optimal speed, where we have the most amount of turning control and all that. If I scroll wheel, you'll notice that that blue box is moving up and down, and that box is basically our speed limiter. So if I turn it all the way down, we're barely going to move when I hold W to go forward. If I turn it all the way up, it's just going to go to the best of its ability. And that little caret right there is going to be what our current speed is, and we'll also get that readout right here where that 0 is. Then we have this little thrust bar, and what that is going to show us how much boost we got going. We'll look at that again once we can actually use it. Then we have the status of our landing gear, ESP, which I honestly don't remember what that one's for. We have coupled, and we have VTOL. Now, toggling your gear up and down is going to be with the N button. We have N for gear, because that makes sense. Then you have C, which is going to be your cruise control. And luckily we're landed, or my ship would have went. It's not a good time. And you'll notice we get a little caret next to our... I lost the word. Next to that little box that keeps us from going too fast. And we can click C again and turn that off. Now, I told you we got coupled over there. The way you toggle coupled on and off is Alt-C, and we'll talk about that when we start flying. Then we got the VTOL mode. In VTOL mode, you can toggle on and off with the K on your keyboard. And what that is if your ship has VTOL engines, they will rotate down to help you hover. Now let's play with some of these multifunction displays real quick. So on this one right now, we have our comms menu, and it's real nice because we can actually call tower to open this hangar door so that we can actually leave this place. This one we have ship status, this one is power status, this one over here is our current target, which we don't have one, this is shield status, and then we have our weapon status right here. And we'll click through these once we start flying. Now, I told y'all we was going to come back to that repair service. If I click on vehicle maintenance services now, we're given this screen right here. And we can see it says we need repairs already. We haven't even done anything. Thank you, Star Citizen. Then we can restock, refuel as necessary, and it's all pretty easy, and it usually works. When and if I run into it, it doesn't. I'll make sure it makes it in the video. So we can just click the X on that. We got rid of that. So let's talk about leaving this spaceport. I told you that you can come over here and zoom in, and if we just click this little Wi-Fi looking button right there, it'll call the Area 18 landing services and tell them we want to leave, and then we'll get an audio cue saying that we're clear to take off, and that hangar door in front of us will start opening. We can also select F11 to get into our chat right here, go to friends, and we can also call them right there, and it'll do the same thing. Now recently, as of 3.17.1, if we go into our options menu, we can actually set a hotkey. Go to key bindings, advanced control customization. Alright, and here it is. It says request landing. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this guy. So you double click it, and then you're going to click whatever button you want. I did the period on the numpad, and that tells me that that button is already taken. However, I'm not using head tracking, so I don't need it. So I'm going to come on down here to head tracking, find where we got period on the numpad, and we're going to right click to unbind. Then we can just go back. So now, when I click that period on my numpad, it should call tower. We're going to get clear to launch. Now we get to talk about ship controls. So in order to hover upwards, you're just going to hold spacebar. I personally, your first time, would turn that speed limiter all the way down, hold your spacebar, and you might have to give it a little bit more. And as soon as you get off the ground, let off your spacebar because you will go through the ceiling and it will be really funny. W is going to be forward thrust. You can see, nice and easy, we can go forward. If I move my mouse up, you'll see we get that line, and we can move all the directions that way. And this takes a little bit of getting used to, but it won't be so bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get outside of this hangar, and I'm going to pitch up and start scroll wheel up a little bit so that we can start moving. And I'm just going to keep it in the blue for now. Going over more controls, Q is going to be roll right, or E is going to be roll right, Q is roll left, balance back out.
Thank you.
And you can see on here, our altitude is climbing, and our velocity is currently 129, I think it's meters per second. We also can see a pitch indicator on here, and we can pay attention to that. It can help us level out when we want to, and we even have a compass, and the compass is nice occasionally. Now, for example, if I want to just keep going in this direction forever and ever and ever, I can just click C, and we turned our cruise control on. Now is a great time to click N to bring up our landing gear, and you can see it toggled off for us. And while we're gently cruising up, we can go through some other stuff we got going on here. We can select V and turn on our scanner. And the scanner is a nice little tool, because if you need to scan something without locking onto it, because people don't like it when you lock onto them, you can use your scanner. You can zoom in on it a little bit and zoom out. You can also hold F and do this. It's actually a really nice feature. Let it go, we'll recenter. We're going to click V again to shut that off. Okay. We also have B, which is going to turn on our quantum, and so it could spool up and do all the lovely stuff. And you'll notice we get markers all over the place. And as we get high enough to actually quantum away, things will start turning blue. When you're in planetary atmosphere, you're not going to be able to quantum anywhere. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn off my cruise control, and we're going to rotate around here, and we're going to start looking at stuff. So when you hover over one of those markers, it'll tell you what it is, how far it is, and you'll start aligning to it. Now this is great if you're having some kind of issues and you're just trying to jump away, but we want to go to a certain space, and it's kind of hard just looking around here trying to find stuff. Not all that user friendly. Now I just happened to find the spot I want to go to is Bajan Point. It's the spaceport above Area 18. However, this is inefficient when you're trying to get places, so let's go look at the map. So if I click F2 again, we'll double click on ARCorp, zoom in with our mouse wheel a little bit so that we get everything popping up, and it's actually really hard to see right now, so I just held right click to drag it away because our stuff is bleeding through. We'll rotate this around a little bit so we can see that spaceport, and you can kind of see it right there. It's kind of hard to see. We can left mouse click on it, and we missed. There we go. We got it that time. You can tell we selected it right there. And if we want to quantum to it, we can just click set route. And the reason to do it this way when possible, because sometimes the game just ain't having it and it won't let you set your route, is because when I come out of here, the only marker that is now on the entire HUD is the one that I want to go to. And it makes it way easier to find things. So we're going to let that calibrate real quick, and now to activate our quantum drive, we're going to hold B. And it's just going to jump us over here real quick. Now you can see all the rest of our little markers came back. You can also see that we're not too far away from the target, and for some reason our throttle's stuck on. So we're going to go ahead and click S to slow down. It does that sometimes, it's not supposed to. Now, listening to this thing run isn't all that fun, so we're going to turn that back off, but we can see before we do, we're 21 kilometers away. So we're going to go ahead and turn that off. Now, going back and talking about the map again. Occasionally, you'll have some weirdness where there will only be one target showing, but you didn't think you set anything, and that happens all the time. So this nice little clear route button will help you get rid of that. So generally, if you're having issues, you click that a couple times and you can try setting a route again. And sometimes a route just won't set anyways. And generally, your correction for that is if you can quantum anywhere, even if it's close, go there real quick, And then when you come out of quantum, it'll usually let you set a route. We also have this nice little target button, and it's just going to zoom us in on the map where we want to be. And I'm not going to lie, I don't know what that button is. We can also see our current fuel amount in our ship. And if we set a target, set route, it'll show us how much of that fuel we're going to burn to get to where we want to go. And then this example right here that we just set, it's showing us that we have to quantum to do different locations to get there. So one nice thing to know is an OM marker is basically a satellite that they're scattered all over around a planet. Definitely on the poles and then some around the equator. And they're really nice when you're just jumping around a planet real quick and you don't want to have to come into your map and set route. Just really easy for getting around. So we're going to go ahead and clear our route because we don't want to go there right now. Select our F2 again. And we're going to go ahead and start flying at this space station that is really dark. If I zoom in, you can see it a little bit better. Now here's the trick to flying to a space station, okay? First and foremost, don't point straight at it, especially as a new player, because here's what you're going to do. You're going to come in a lot faster than you thought you were, and you're going to smash into it. So always aim off a little bit when you're flying towards a space station. Now I'm going to turn my throttle limiter all the way up. We're going to see what this thing can do. You can see we can get up going pretty quick, but now we're getting really close really fast. And now's a great time to learn about our space brake. Holding X is space brake, but it ain't doing much. So if we hold shift, which is boost while holding space brake, it'll slow us down a lot faster. And that is the first time we've looked at that boost gauge. And now we've came to a nice complete stop. So let's talk about some more ship controls. Holding A will strafe to the left, holding D will strafe to the right, and holding S is going to fly us backwards. We also have control, which will fly us down, opposite a spacebar, which flies us up. We also have tab as an option, and tab is going to scan a local area. It kind of sends out a ping. It's a really nice function. Used for mining and trying to find other ships that are around. Here's what it looks like. And we can see there's some nice little boxes that popped up, and there's something over there, 1,753 meters. If we went and got closer to it, we could find out what it was. So, default power management. So looking down over here, this is our power management. This little icon right here is our weapons. This little icon right here is our engines. And this little icon right here is our shields. Now I can click on this with my mouse and move it around if I want to, or double click. Oh, that was double click. Oh, that wasn't right. Gotta talk about that too.
Please proceed to assigned landing bay.
Alright, well, I guess it's a good time to talk about the hotkeys, because I don't remember how to reset that with my mouse. So we got hotkeys that correlate to that. So F5, if you tap it, it's going to give you some power towards weapons, or you can hold it, and it will go all power to weapons, which is a nice feature when you're doing combat. F6 is power to engines, and again, we can hold it to go all power to engines, and F7 is shields, just like before we can hold it. Now, when we want to rebalance everything out, F8 is the default button to put us right back in the center. And you can rekey bind those. A lot of people do. I leave them the same for right now, but it is definitely inconvenient when you're in the middle of a fight. You got to take your hand away from the mouse to change your power settings. So we talked about those decoys over there on the right a little bit earlier, and we got a button for those. H is going to shoot off a decoy. J is going to shoot off noise. Pretty neat. Then we have G, which is going to open up a gimbal for our weapons, so when we target something, I don't think there's anything around here to target. Oh, that was delayed. Thank you, Star Citizen. If there was something to target, we would use T in order to target things, and Alt-T to untarget. Unfortunately, there's no targets around, so I can't display that well. Now, your favorite button in this game, remember we talked about that third person for screenshots? Well, if you click F4, you're in third person now. Now, in order to look around in this, you gotta hold Z so that you can pan around. And with this, we can take neat screenshots. For example, this is probably the thumbnail. All we're gonna do is click this print screen button on our keyboard, and it's gonna take a screenshot and go ahead and send that to the game. You can actually look in the game folder and see that. It's real nice. You can also control the ship while in third person. It's hard because you can't see where center is, so you'll tend to drift. So generally people don't do that. Now, there is one other option that I did not talk about, and it is coupled and decoupled. Now, I've shown you where the indicator was, and I told you Alt-C turns it on and off. But what it is if you hold click Alt-C,
Feel free to go.
it's going to turn off coupled, and now our ship thrusters will only react when we tell them to. So if I tap forward, you'll see we're just going until I tap backwards to slow us down. Now, if you're going to learn how to do that, I would recommend that you learn to fly like that early. Because the learning curve to unteach your brain that you're not going to stop when you let go of your controls is rough. Now, there's a lovely security that just scanned us. And what I'm going to do is lock onto him so that we can see what we get. So one, you're going to get a target indicator, which is what you see around him right there. And that's telling you where to shoot to hit him. So if we pointed our reticle in that circle, we could shoot at him. We're not going to do that. I don't need that fight. You can also see that down here in the target screen, we can see that its name is Blackjack Security. He's flying an anvil arrow. We can actually click on these buttons if we really wanted to and change how we're viewing him. I don't find that all that useful. We can see how far away he is, what his electromagnetic pulse is coming off of him, and what his IR looks like. We can also hail him. I didn't know that button was there. That's a cool feature. And that's nice and easy. Going through MFDs a little bit more. If you click on menu, you can see all of the options. You can click into each one of these and look at all kinds of stuff. So we were just on weapons. Here we can see we can turn on or off our weapons manually. We can change what group they're on. Apparently not, because there's only one right now. We can also see we got missiles. Then we can click on guns. This is where we can change what group they're on. Click on that, and now this one is going to be on left mouse click, and this one will be on right mouse click. Nice and easy. We can see how much charge we got, and other things going on with our weapons. We select missiles, and we can see what kind of missiles we got. We got 2 Marksman 1, Size 1 IR type missiles. They shoot out, they explode when they hit proximity, and that's where I seen we got 2 of them. And all of the menus are interactable in some way, shape, or form. So speaking of shooting at things, we got this lovely dude targeted at the moment, and there's one more screen we want to know about. If you select middle mouse button,
Target acquired.
you will get, oh, I just got a crime stat. You'll get a missile mode. Time to use countermeasures.
Shields damaged.
I did my time in jail, and now we have gotten to a different space station instead of the one we're going to. And if I hold Y, we can still get out of bed. I hadn't changed. Tap F, Here we are, and just like before, we're gonna find the elevator. We are in a space station right now, and I don't remember which one. So if we click I into our inventory, we can see we're at Everest Harbor. Get back out of that, call our elevator. And before, we were rudely interrupted by the police for doing a tutorial. I was about to tell you guys how to request landing. We were going to use whatever button that you decided you want to use, whether it was whatever you custom set, the comms menu using F11, or the MFD inside of the ship to request landing. Then we were going to follow the nice little blue marker that pops up, which I will flash on the screen, and we're going to go and land. Then we're going to have some options. We could either just land manually, got to make sure, don't forget your landing gear with N. You could also hold N to land. And then we were going to catch the elevator and get back up inside here. And we would have came out over in this direction. So we'd come out in an area looking similar to this. It's not the same station, so similar to this. You'd come up to the fleet manager,
the aSOC vehicle retrieval system,
and you would see store instead of claim, and you would want to store your ship. Now, because none of these ships are located here, all of them say claim. Now I'm going to go ahead and claim one now, so I can show you what pops up. You're going to get this. It's going to tell you how long it's going to take to deliver. We click File Claim,
your insurance claim
and we will
has been
get the
sent.
option to expedite it. Once it decides
Your
to stop being
insurance
Star
claim has
Citizen.
been sent.
So we have this expedite time right here, and it shows us the expedite fee, and you can see that's clicking down as the time goes down. So generally, if you have something that's not going to be instant, you want to wait until it says instant and then pay your expedited fee, because it will be cheaper. I can
Your
expedite
vehicle
that
has
now.
been moved to our storage facility.
Click go back, and you can see we can retrieve that ship now. So we're here,
Please visit us
and I'm
again.
going to show you how to reset your spawn. So in all the space stations, they all have varying different types of vendors. This one's got a nice burrito store. Get some burritos, come around here and get yourself a wada. Good times. And there's one more menu we actually want to talk about that I haven't talked about yet. So at this point we know how to hold F, but if we right mouse button while holding F, it's going to bring up this context menu. Now you can do most things that you would do normally in this context menu, whether it open your inventory, take off your helmet, and sometimes there's some nice hotkeys in here. You can also do a bunch of nice emotes and stuff in here, but the main reason I use this screen is it shows me my health, my food and water, if I have any drug addictions, if I have any bad body injuries, how much oxygen I got, and last but not least, our body temperature. Your body temperature is a fun thing, because if you're on a really hot planet or a really cold planet, your body gets excessively too hot or excessively too cold. Even though your little timer that'll pop up right in here will tell you you have, 15 minutes of life expectancy, you can go unconscious. And it is hilarious when you make that mistake. We can click back on this and then exit, and we're out of it. Now, the most important thing you want to do your first day in Star Citizen is make sure that you set your spawn somewhere else besides that ground
Let me know
station,
if there's anything I can help you with.
so you can avoid having to take a train and run through a whole spaceport to get to your ship. And all you got to do that is find the right little kiosk in the hospital. Now this ain't the right one. It says patient check-in. We can do this and go get in a medical bed, but we don't want that one. There's also always going to be a pharmacy, and then we're going to come on over and we're going to find insurance spot. And if we click on this guy, holding F and then left mouse click, we can see that we can transfer our imprint. Because the way we respawn in this game is every time you die, a new clone is made. So you're just changing the location of where your clone is regenerated. So if I click transfer impact now,
got you worried?
we'll say
Forget that
confirm.
stress. Just
And
relax.
now if I die,
Everyone here at
we're going to
Delta
come
RX
to
is
this
gonna take
station.
great care of you.
And we can also see we can reset it, and then anytime we die after that, it would just take us back to Area 18 where we spawned. One more key button, we're going to call it a day.
Please come to
So,
storage room 3
if
right
you
now.
hold backspace,
Storage room 3.
you can kill yourself. Now I'm not going to do it because I got all this lovely starter gear I don't want to lose. When you die, you got to go get your equipment. But backspace can kill you. It will also start self-destruct sequence on your ship, and sometimes you need that. So that's going to be our video for today. If you enjoyed it, definitely like and subscribe. And if you think I missed something, or there's something I could have done better, definitely go down in the comments and leave a comment. I'd love to hear your guys' feedback, and if there's something I need to touch up on or explain in more detail, I can always do that in the next video. Thanks for watching.